Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking a bit of time to listen to us talk about 3D printing. My name is Steve Cory. I'm the president, founder, owner of Objects Unlimited. We're a 3D printing service provider. Essentially, we sell printers, we sell scanners, we do services, we do design, the whole gamut. Is this the button to move the slide?
Yeah, it's the
green one. All right, great. So I'm going to show you basically a whole lot of really cool pictures of 3D printed stuff, some related to architecture and some not. So as I said, we've been 3D printing since 2011. Pretty much my entire life's devoted to 3D printing. Love it. Objects is a little bit different than a lot of the other 3D printing companies out there in that we do a lot of work on the color side of things. We do a lot of artistic work. As you can see, we do quite a bit of scanning of people, and we make models of animals. We do industrial design. And we do a lot of buildings. We've been doing a lot more lately, mostly for visualization. A couple neat, like those are all 3D printed parts that you see there, except for the one dog sniffing his little 3D printed model. Lots of neat ways to do it, and 3D color printing is especially interesting for visualizing architectural forms. So there are, 4 good reasons that I can see from at least the perspective of a printer on why you produce architectural models. One is for visualization. One is to prove your concept. Especially my friends at U of T like to do a lot of these kind of funky things. We're seeing quite a lot of people looking at making 3D printed models for marketing purposes and for display. Many requests the last few months especially to take pictures or drawings of buildings and produce 3D printable models. So something like the parking garage you see on the top of that slide, that's about 6 feet in diameter, and that came together in a week. It's a lot faster in some cases than traditional production. So speed, flexibility. So in 3D printing we say complexity is free. It's kind of true. The printer doesn't often care what level of detail it's putting in, depending on which technology you use. You can do some really fancy stuff if you want to. You can do some very fine details. What I love the best with 3D printed models is they're scalable. So I can print something an inch in diameter, and then I can scale it up to 10 feet in diameter. If the CAD has the detail, I can capture all that. Not that I would print a 10-foot diameter part, but 10 inches for sure. This little model that you see here is a dam site from up north, so it was scanned with a LiDAR scan. And the dam was dropped in CAD, and we put the lake where it's going to appear. This was really important during the the approval phase of this project because there's a tree on the little island right behind the dam that was really important to the native groups in that area. And having a physical reproduction of the landscape that they could show people really reassured them how the water would flow, how the roads would survive, and what it would look like. A great tool. So 3D printing is not, I guess, the only way to produce architectural models. Quite the opposite. I would say it's a way to do quick and dirty stuff, fast visualizations. We tend to use a 2 and 10 rule, 2 pieces or less, or 2 feet or less, 10 pieces or less is the sweet spot for 3D printing. We do a lot of component printing for large-scale architectural models and use a lot of multimedia. So mixing 3D printed models in with laser cut panels is a really good way to do it. And again, I apologize for going through these slides quite quickly, but we only get 5 minutes to talk. So in 3D printing, there's a lot of noise in the market right now, and I want people to please understand that you are not going to make a high-quality architectural model on a $5,000 consumer-grade printer. There's a lot of really good marketing information that really shows you what a lot of the cheaper printers can do, but frankly, I've never had a lot of luck producing anything of a reasonable, saleable value on the lower-end printers. Real professional 3D printers, you're talking 40,000 and up, typically around 100,000 for a good color 3D printer. The difference is quite impressive though. So we tend to use a lot of color jet printing. This is good for landscapes, geospatial imaging, for buildings. We also do a lot of small components. I didn't have pictures of the components that I printed, but we do quite a lot of this for architectural firms. So cornices, stairways, fine detail stuff that we can do down to the couple millimeters. That little picture of the people in the bottom left there, all those people are 3D printed and painted, put into an architectural model. So quite an interesting way to get stuff done quicker and cheaper than traditional model making. So color jet printing is basically the way that we produce full color models. We spread a thin layer of powder and stick a binding agent into it. Then when it's all done printing, we do a little bit of archaeology. I think I have a slide on this. So this is a model of an apartment building that we laid out. So we basically dig it out of powder, and then we dip it in crazy glue. Now in this case, I actually projected a couple pieces of art onto the wall. You can see Claude Monet's water lilies and a little Matisse picture. So all these kind of nice details really come out and give you a great way to represent your design to your customers. I'm just going to go very quickly here, and pardon me if I go a minute over, guys. We're missing a speaker too, so I guess it'll be okay. size is an issue. So typically your 3D printers are going to print about a foot by a foot by a foot is the biggest you want to go. So you may have to do stuff in pieces. Also, 3D print ready models do not often come from architectural design software. Quite a lot of the times we have to work on the models, and I'll show you in the next slide. I think one of the issues I've come across with 3D printing models is that people expect a 3D printed model to look like an architectural model that's built with wiring and with beautiful laser cut panels and incredibly intricate detail. It can be done, it's expensive, and the real application for 3D printing is to have something in your hand the next day that shows what you're trying to communicate to your customers. Good example of a rendering. I just went on to a typical architectural site and I grabbed this house and I tried to process it through the 3D printing software. And when you're 3D printing, you need a watertight solid CAD model. So in this case, the peak of that dormer there is two shells. It's not joined. So when I go to print that, it's going to collapse and disintegrate. So there is quite a lot of work that has to be done to produce 3D printable models. And what we tend to find is that the design time is often as much as the print. So it's just something to keep in mind that the rendering you have may not have the information necessary. It might, depends on what kind of software it's done in. So again, sorry for the very quick presentation, but a few things to take away that I would recommend. One is 3D printing can be a really effective tool for communicating your ideas to your customers and internally. You can get extremely fast turnaround time. We typically would turn stuff in a day or two with high detail and flexibility to change things. There is some upfront work that needs to get done, and even though we do sell 3D printers and we sell quite a number of them in the architectural industry, it's not always necessary to buy a 3D printer. There are service bureaus like ourselves that will print on demand for you and save you the investment. One of the challenges we find is that people in the architectural industry are not 3D printing people. So do you want to spend your time running and maintaining a 3D printer, or do you just want the results? If you want to spend your time and learn it and leverage it, it's more fun than you can possibly imagine, but it does eat a lot of time. So consider using service bureaus like Objects or several of the other fine providers that are around. And most importantly, if you have questions, call us and ask us. We'll happily answer you and guide you through the process of 3D printing. So that's all I got. Thank you very much.